Hey guys, it's Chris, and today's video I want to talk all about millennials and new graduates and recent chiros and why they're not succeeding in practice like they should, what they're getting wrong, what we're getting wrong, what employers are getting wrong, and how we should go about fixing this. Because this has come off the back of a couple of conversations I've had in the last week that I've had multiple times before, and I've realized we really need to be addressing this head on. We need to be doing a better job with this. And that's this issue that millennials are kind of generally unhappy with the jobs that are out there. They often hop around a fair bit. And employers are unhappy with recent graduates and what they perceive as not a good work ethic. And I'm actually going to do this in a two-part. So this video I want to address, this is more for you if you're a recent graduate, you graduated in the last few years, or you're a student about to graduate. Or if you're an employer and you have recent graduate associates, you might want to show them this as well. And then the next video, I'm going to address the employer side of things, like what we can do better, what we're getting wrong, because I don't think there's a simple right and wrong answer here. So this whole dynamic comes up. I hear this from employers quite often, this idea that, oh, well, kids these days, they just don't have a good work ethic. They're just not motivated. They're not committed. They're entitled. They want everything handed to them. And I understand where that comes from. And I would say and I can say this as technically, I was born in the 80s myself. So technically I fit into that millennial category. And the issue I think stems for recent graduates is around the issue of patience, because the world has massively changed in the last couple of decades, and we all now live in this world of instant gratification. You know, you want something, it's there, like that. You want to watch something, it's all on demand. You don't even have to go to the cinema, you don't have to wait for movies to be out, you can binge watch a whole series overnight. You want to order something, it's just on Amazon. Like, next day delivery has become the norm. Like, when I was younger, you used to have to wait maybe a week for something you wanted to arrive. Even things like Uber, just order the cab, Just Eat, just order the food, you know, online shopping, Tinder. It's just become so instant. And what that's resulted in is all of us losing the ability to wait. And our patience as a society has dropped right down. And, you know, if you're a recent graduate or if you're a student right now, you've actually been brought up in that world. And there's a lot of great things about that. You know, I use Amazon most days. Like, it's really good having that. But the problem is, often when it comes to things that can't be rushed, they feel longer. And something I hear from new graduates a lot is that they're swapping jobs 6 months in, sometimes even 3 months in. I spoke to somebody the other week who left their first job after 3 months because they weren't busy enough. And I regularly hear through PRT and things like that of new graduates who have left their first job within the first 6 months because it wasn't busy enough. They weren't building like they thought. And I can understand that. And I can understand how often you're promised the earth. Like, there is a relative dearth of new graduates out there at the minute. There's a lot of jobs going. A lot of employers will promise you all the new patients you could ever dream of. And then it's disappointing when you get there into the job and you find out, A, maybe there's not everything you were promised, and B, all the new patients in the world don't instantly turn into a decent professional income, because for most of us, seeing new patients every day is not nearly as profitable. And you don't want to have your diary filled up with new patients because you want those patients to be coming back for treatment. So I get that, and I get the fact that, you know, we are in a relatively less patient society now. But I would urge you to just factor in that you cannot rush these things. It's a little bit like dating. You can fast track the first bit, like you can get loads of new patients in. That's like going on loads of first dates, you know, like swiping on, I can't remember which way, but swiping the right way on loads of people on Tinder. You can start a lot of relationships at the same time. You might maybe find people who are a better fit for you quicker, but actually then building that relationship, getting to know that person, finding out about all their quirks, falling in love, building a life together, you can't rush that. You cannot fast track that. And the same is true for long-term skills, one of which is building a successful practice. You can't rush it. It doesn't matter what you're promised in terms of the amount of coaching you'll get, the number of new patients you'll get, how busy the clinic is. They can't take you in 6 months' time from where you start, which is a new graduate with very practically no experience, and suddenly in 6 months' time be as busy as the rest of the chiropractors there. It's not going to happen. And nobody can do that, even if they're promising you that. You know, I was very fortunate. I'm a second generation chiropractor. I grew up in chiropractic clinics. I worked on the front desk throughout all my teenage years, throughout university and the holidays as well. I've really grown up with chiropractic. I'm quite lucky in that I'm naturally an extroverted person. And when I graduated, I knew that my communication skills were something that I really wanted to build straight away. I didn't discover that 5-10 years down the line. So I had a really good start. I was really fortunate with that. And I took over a part-time patient base. So, I couldn't complain. I got the best start possible, pretty much. And it still took me a year until I felt like my patient numbers were pretty stable and I had a good idea of predicting where I would be week to week and month to month. And it was still building after that. I would say 2 years was at the point where I was about as busy as I wanted to be. And that for some people may take 5 years through no fault of their own, no matter how hard they work. But it took me a couple of years to get to that point. And I'm still growing now. I'm still building now. Now I've got a new patient wait list. I'm sure that will grow over time as things improve further. But it took time. I was fortunate to have a lot of support. I was fortunate to have a lucky start. But it still can't be fast-tracked. It's like falling in love. It just takes time. So I would really urge you, if you're in a job now and you feel like you're not as busy as you'd like to be, then stick with it a bit longer. Now, don't get me wrong. I've heard stories of people who have been promised something and given the other. If you were promised loads of new patients and you're not getting any, that's a problem. Definitely, if you were told you were going to be paid a certain wage and then you get there and they change it, that's a red flag. Like, I've heard of that happening. Get out of that job if you're being lied to. So I'm not saying that no matter what the job is, you should stick with it. But I will say you need to develop some patience and you need to be prepared to work at this for a while. It's like the hands-on skills. Like, I've been doing this for 10 years. I, like most chiropractors, like to think I'm a pretty good adjuster. And I just went to a seminar with Len Fay a couple of weeks ago, and it's really made me realize, wow, I've still got a lot to learn. In another 10, 15 years, I bet my hands-on skills are going to be way better than they are now. And there's no way to rush that. It takes practice, and it takes concentration, and it takes attention, and it takes perseverance, but it takes time. So hopefully, if you're a new grad or you're about to graduate, I just want to make sure that you have realistic expectations, because I've heard of a few who've hopped around. They've spent the first 2-3 years of their career hopping around, waiting to find the right job, because everyone's been a disappointment so far. You're not going to develop a solid reputation in your area and a solid patient base in 12 months. It's not going to happen. You will get better and you will see that progress if you work at it, but you're not going to get that instant thing. And you may be working alongside chiropractors going, well, they're really busy. I want to be like them. If I'm not, it's because they haven't given me enough new patients. How long have those chiros been at that? Ask them. How long does it take them to get there? If they own the practice, they've been doing this a while. And you can't get there in a year or two. So I don't want to dishearten you, but I want you to just be aware of realistic expectations and be aware of that patience. So hopefully if that's you, that's something you can be aware of. If you're employing other associates, you've got new graduates, you might want to show them this video or make them aware of that as well. Because if you can't be patient, the job's not going to work out, and it's not anybody's fault. It just takes that time. So hope that's been helpful. I'm going to be back with another video that I'll share as a part 2. I might even put it in the same email actually. That I'm going to address the employers and look at what we need to be doing differently. Because this is not a one-sided thing. This is not all like kids these days, millennials' fault. There's things that they need to work on, but there's things that employers we need to be doing a better job with as well. So I'll be back soon for that video.